Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, it's wonderful to be in Israel. And I want to express great admiration for what your country, your nation has achieved in a very short time, in being not only the only free country in this region, but also the only functioning country. I was asked to give you a brief history of my life, and what I'd like to do is say, divide, I'm 42 years old, divide, in telling you about my journey, the first 20 years of my life, first 2 decades of my life, versus the second half of my life, since I came to the Netherlands. The first half of my life was characterized by 3 aspects. The first is absolute authority. I grew up in a Muslim family. My father's authority over our family was absolute. We couldn't argue with him, we didn't discuss, we had to obey him. My relationship to my teachers was exactly the same. As students, we were expected to learn by heart what they taught us. On a national level, authority was also absolute. If you disagreed with the policeman or with the general or with the president, then you ended up in jail, and then you were lucky. The second aspect that characterized the first half of my life is one that I don't know how to formulate it in English, but it's one that I would say is to compromise is to suffer shame. It's to lose face. So growing up in the family, at school, on a national level, if there was a conflict, you only had winners and losers. Settling a conflict, if you were clever, didn't mean you compromised. It just meant you would bear the grudge and wait until a moment comes when you could defeat your enemy. At school, in the Quran school, everywhere, when I got into fights as from 5-year-old, 10 years old, etc., that's exactly how I behaved and how everyone else behaved towards us. The third aspect is that all problems, from the micro problems of your life to the macro problems, national, international, global, you could find all the answers in the Quran or in the Hadith, the example that the Prophet Muhammad left. So for me, and this was all baked into me, when I left my country of origin, Somalia, and we moved to Saudi Arabia, I recognized these aspects, and they were more marked than they were in Somalia, but I didn't feel that they were that different. I just felt that we, as a Somali family, we were not trying hard enough. When my family moved to Ethiopia, and I associated for the first time with a non-Muslim community, I realized that in a way they were different, but I was too young to understand how that system worked. When my family moved to Kenya, and I went to school in a multicultural society, I associated with children from Yemen, children from Pakistan, children from other Muslim countries. And these were the 3 defining features that we shared. Absolute authority, no compromise. To compromise was to suffer shame and lose face, and we thought that all answers were in the Quran and in the Hadith. Fast forward, I come to the Netherlands, and I find almost an exact opposite of that. And as I spend more and more time, I find that in the West, in fact, authority is not absolute. And I know that there's a long history before things came that way. to compromise is, in fact, one of the most honorable things that you can do, because both parties negotiate and you reach a win-win situation. You don't lose face. And religion, the Bible, whatever other holy book, does not contain all answers. There are other books and there are other sources of morality. There are other ways of reaching a solution. Now, if I extrapolate, and I know I'm being cheeky by doing that, from that history of my early years to the conflicts and the issues facing your region, the first thing that I see is that in Israel, and indeed in America, other Western countries, there is this disconnect where you are dealing with a culture where you, as a democracy, have to talk, relate, negotiate with men who have absolute power and who expect it. Now, what I find optimistic about the events of last year and this year, the so-called Arab Spring that is turning into an Islamist winter, hopefully things will go in a different way, but we'll have that in the discussion. But I find interesting is, for the first time, and I find it thrilling, Muslim countries, Arab countries, have questioned that absolute power. The masses have organized themselves and they were able to drive away the despot. Talking about tomorrow, I hope that that is going to translate not only into driving the top-down authority, the military man, the politician from power, but also in questioning the authority from a bottom-up level, that of the father, of the teacher, of the policeman. When that happens in the Arab world, then we are looking at a true revolution. The second aspect, which hasn't been questioned, hasn't been written on much, is that principle of non-compromise. This region, the Arab Muslim world, is a region that is governed by honor and shame. A true revolution will occur here once people move from this idea that to compromise is to lose face, it is to suffer shame. If that happens, not only will it positively impact the region, the Arab communities concerned, but it will have a fantastic impact on the relations between Israel and the Arab world, and indeed between the Jewish people in general and the Muslim people. And finally, religion. The Islamists, the Muslim Brotherhood, have won the hearts and minds of not all, but large swathes of the Arab population, because they offer religion, Islam, the Quran and the Hadith, as the source that they will look into to resolve problems. Again, a true revolution is only likely if people put that aside. Those three characteristics, absolute power, the no compromise principle, and this fixation on religion, only if all three change and change radically can we really speak of a revolution in the Arab world. And its impact on a global level to Israel and the Jewish people cannot be overstated. Thank you very much.